All righty. Thanks so much for joining today. We're going to be talking about the 19 things they don't teach in real estate school. So there's a lot to go over. So I'm going to dive right in. As I mentioned, we've got this nice workbook that you can follow along. For those of you on Zoom, I would recommend getting a notebook and paper and try to follow along, and then you can go back and print and fill in the blanks later. But we've got to get through all 19. So there's a lot of stuff in the workbook that we're not going to go over every detail. I'm not going to pause at every point of the 19 things for you to fill in all those blanks. We're going to try to go through as much of it as possible, but we've got 1 hour to get through it all, and there's a lot. So let's dive right in. Anybody on Zoom, please jump in and just unmute yourself and interrupt me. Don't worry, I'm not offended. It's really hard for me to manage the chat while I'm also doing the PowerPoint, and I won't see you in the chat. So just raise your hand, unmute yourself, and dive right in and ask any questions. All right. So I'm going to just dive right into the 19 things. There is a video for those of you in coaching. If you'd like to go back into the Locker Room University, Jake does go over this in greater detail too, and follows along with the workbook, so that if you wanted to get a second hit at it, you're welcome to do so. So, okay, so there's an assessment here. And again, we can maybe just take a minute, because this could take about 10 minutes to, morning, there's a workbook right here, Carly, right there. To kind of go through and rate yourself on a level of the scale of 1 to 5, if you feel where you are with each of these things, right? So this way you can help yourself. Now, I know we have a lot of brand new people, so you're like, I rate myself a nothing because I don't know yet, and that's okay. But for those of you who've been doing this for a little bit, and by a little bit, I mean even a month plus, where are you with these things? Because they are the 19 things. So I just want to draw your attention. So there is this scale. I would love for you to go back and look at that, or even take that page out for those of you here. And as we go through each one, maybe look at rating yourself where you are at. And obviously, let me zoom in just a second here. If it's 1, what is this? So for example, start day 1 with a database. And if your answer is, what is it? That might be someone who's brand new, like, what does database even mean? And that's okay. That just means that we know that that's something that you need to focus on and work on. All the way over to a 5. And I will tell you, I'm just this kind of a person that nothing's ever a 5. Nothing's ever a 10. There's no 10 in my world, because 9 means that it's damn near perfect, but we always have room for improvement. So it would have to, I don't know what it would have to be for me to give something a 5 or a 10. So like, as you see, it says mastered. If you're not standing in front of hundreds of people on a stage teaching database, you haven't mastered it. So don't give yourself a master. I love to hear when people say they're mastered it. And I'm like, well, what does that mean to you? Well, I'm sending emails out. That doesn't mean mastered. So, always give yourself room for improvement on those things. All right. So number 1 on the 19 things they don't teach in real estate school is start day 1 with a database. And so let me just dive in for those of you who don't know. A database is really your cell phone. This is your database. Your social media is your database. I mean, I get it. We all have random, like I probably have 1,000 friends on Facebook that I've never seen in my life. I don't recognize their name. I don't know how I got to be friends with them. So is that my database, those people? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I just listed 3 houses in the past since June, and I never met any of those 3 sellers. It came to me from social media. So they were connected to me in some way from other people that they knew I sold real estate. So I don't discount the ones on social media that you never met or don't know, because somehow they reached out to me and said, you're friends with so-and-so, and I see you sell real estate. So that is still your database. When I say your cell phone's your database, it's not the pizza shop, right? Maybe it is. Maybe if you're marketing to vendors and businesses, sure. But all of those people should be dumped into your command or whatever CRM you're using. You get command for free. So I don't know why you wouldn't use it. It works fantastically. So I would say that Amanda is our command trainer. So if you're like, how the heck do I get my cell phone into command? She will show you how to do that. So what I would do though, if you're going to do that, is make sure you filter through and get rid of like the pizza shops and things like that, or duplicates of the same person, because then you're going to have to go through it once they're in command. So you can dump that whole list right into command, and now you have a database. Your database doesn't have to be 5,000 people. It could start out with 50 people. It's okay as long as you got a working database. Really, I know when you're meeting with Amanda to go over a command, she likes to see that you have 100 people in your database. And then she starts to show you the things that you can do in there, which is nurturing people, following up with people, and using drip campaigns and smart plans to email newsletters and all kinds of different things. And I know a lot of people think, well, why is that important? Those people aren't buying or selling real estate. That's okay, because we market to people for their referrals, not just for their business. So never discount someone that maybe you call up and say, hey, good news, I just got my real estate license. I don't know if you knew or not, but I would love to help you in the future if you ever want to buy and sell. And they say, no, we just bought a house 2 years ago. We love it. This is our forever home. That is not a person in your database. That is someone that the next script is, oh my gosh, that's so exciting for you. Well, can I ask you to do me a favor? Can you think of me if anyone in your life is ever talking about real estate? Can I go ahead and mail you some business cards? Go ahead and give me your home address, which, by the way, we don't need them to give it to us. That's public information. And let them know you're going to mail them some business cards so that they can keep you in mind. And then, you know what, while you're at it, go ahead and give me your email address, because I'd love to send you valuable information about our community and different things that are going on in the market. Wouldn't you love to know the value of your home a couple times a year, blah, blah, blah. Don't ask, can I have? That is a question that they can say no to. It's always go ahead and give me. Then they really have to pause for a second to be able to say no. So database is super important. So start day one with database, start building. I wish when I started in this business, I wasn't using an accordion file with pieces of paper, which was my database. And then I really started putting people into some type of a CRM that wasn't some crazy accordion file. Really aging myself today with all this. But in any case, that would have been the database, right? And then organize your database in your CRM. So it's not enough just to put them in there. By the way, they don't know they're in there. So it doesn't do you any good to put everybody in if you don't do something with them. Then you need to be calling, emailing, texting, talking to them on social media. Dive into my Nurture Your Leads class in the Google Drive. I teach that a couple times a year on like a 36 touch campaign kind of a thing. Then your database is being well nurtured. And then of course, making sure if I have them in my database, I should also make sure that I'm friends with them on social media and vice versa. Go on to your friends list on your social media and make sure everyone that you're friends with that you know, like lives in the area, I guess, is also in your CRM. That's the way you're hitting everybody in all directions. So that way they aren't going to forget. Nothing like, seeing somebody at, let's say, at the balloon festival during the Hall of Fame, and they go, oh my God, I forgot you sell real estate. Oh, just sold my mother's house. That's my fault if that happens, right? Because they didn't remember, because I wasn't staying on top of it. So start with database. Questions about database? All right. Number 2, focus on the net income. So you really have to focus on what you're netting. Like that means I'm making this amount, but how much did I spend on expenses? And especially for those of you who are new, your first year, you may have paid for classes, you paid for taking your test, you paid for your dues. All of those things are expenses. By the way, keep track of all that, because we get to write all that fantastic stuff off for our taxes. And then, of course, account for your taxes so that you're always working from net income. Jake in the locker room has a great, we call it a CGI calculator in KW. He has a great financial breakdown. If you go into the Locker Room University and look for Agent Action Plan, I think on the 4-day agent action plan, it's day 2, if I'm not mistaken, when he goes over the financials to get you to your net number. based on your goals. And like we talked about a couple days ago, if you want to sell 24 houses in a year, you need just one new appointment a week. One new. You don't count that I already showed them houses before, and it's not the second step of a listing appointment. It's one. If you want to sell 12, it's two a month, and you get the point. If you want to sell 50, then it's two new appointments a week. Your CGI calculator or that breakdown for your net income that Jake goes over fantastically also says, what are my goals? And then how do I break down that net income to my daily activities? Which then my goal could be, I need one new appointment this week. And so I need to spend time doing all these things, all these hours. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of real estate agents think time is very loose in real estate. And it's okay. When I talk to recruits, sometimes they say they're getting into real estate because they like the flexible schedule. Flexible really should mean that you're not working at this time, but you are working at that time. So that means if I have another job, I can't work during that time, but then that means I'm going to work during this time when I'm not at my other job. Unfortunately, most agents really think what that means is we don't work at all. And then they say to themselves, but when I know someone who's going to need real estate, I'm going to be there. Well, great. Keep on waiting for them to fall from the sky. You'll sell maybe a house a year, or you'll be amongst the group that we send your license back because you can't pay your dues. So you really need to take your job seriously in real estate and be spending however many hours a week is dependent on how focused you are on your business and your goals. And so I'll say, if this is your full-time job, I don't know about you, but my entire life, full-time is 40 hours. If this is your part-time job, because you have another job or you just want to do this part-time jobs are 20 hours. So if you're not spending 20 hours a week on your business, you're not going to sell probably not even 6 houses, if I'm honest. If it's a hobby and you only want to sell to friends and family, that's fantastic. It's your business. You can do with that whatever you like. So, but just always keep that in mind. And I say that repeatedly. I love a few years ago, one of my agents in coaching said to me in a class like this, that it was life-changing for him because he never thought about this as a 40-hour-a-week job, but it was his full-time job. He's a very successful team. He runs a team now, and he's only been licensed 2 years because he thought, oh my gosh, I have to retrain how I'm thinking. Am I spending an 8-hour day 5 times a week working in real estate and doing all the things I need to be doing, starting with my database and my goals? All right, number 3, lead generate daily. More of what I just said. So you're going to decide, for most of you, and not everybody yet, because I know we've got some new people. Sean and I haven't done it yet. We all have a GPS. Everybody should have a GPS that isn't just brand new, pass their tests. So we've done that. You should be looking at it regularly. Your GPS was you used our templates, but you customized how you wanted those strategies to be, which means you told your own self, I have a goal. These are the priorities I chose to do. And then these are the strategies that I said to myself and put down on paper that I was going to be focused on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Nobody forced you to put those goals down. You did. So that should be something that's nearby, or plug that into your calendar. Because if you don't remember, and I know this happens a lot with people growing their business, is here we are on Tuesday morning and I've got the whole day. What should I do? What do I need to do in real estate? What is it? Well, go back to that GPS and look at what you thought you wanted to be doing. And if you're not doing it, maybe you didn't put the right things down. Maybe you need to change that up a little bit. So lead generating daily would come from those strategies. I said I was going to post 3 times a week. Am I creating posts to be able to post 3 times a week? I said that I was going to host 1 open house a week. So on Tuesday or on Monday, did I actually find a house to hold open? And am I marketing that? I need to call 5 people a day. If I want to have 25 contacts a week, I need to get on the phone and call 5 people a day in my database and have some conversation with them that could potentially lead to business. If I'm not doing that, then I'm not lead generating daily. Number 4, did someone unmute themselves? Nope. Okay. Number 4, find an accountability partner coach. So yay, you guys are already a step ahead with those of you in coaching. You have a coach. But it's still a good idea to have an accountability partner. What is that? Accountability partner is somebody, I would say, for those of you in coaching, there's 60 of you. I'm certain that you could find somebody else in coaching who wants an accountability partner. Accountability partner would be somebody that you can do a combination of things with. Here's an example. Maybe you text or call them on Monday morning and you each tell each other, this is my goal for this week. And then on Friday, you talk to each other and say, this is what I achieved. This is what I didn't achieve this week. This was my challenge and why I didn't achieve it. And here's how I want to do better next week. And then you hold each other accountable to that. An accountability partner is also a fantastic scripting partner. I can tell you that if you know how to talk to people, you won't feel as nervous, right? Everything is about relationship building and communication. You guys are trying to say something. I don't know why people keep jumping off of mute. So in the drive again, we have several folders that are scripts. So all kinds of scripts to talk to people at open house, scripts to call your database, scripts to call for sale by owners.
Have my suspension back.
Somebody asked a question.
I know.
Okay, I think there's a conversation happening. All right. Okay, so find an accountability partner, somebody that can help you moving forward. Coming to classes is not holding yourself accountable. Holding yourself accountable a little bit, we try to do it as a group in coaching when we do Mondays Dominate Your Week. Dominate Your Week is when you're saying, this is what I'm working on this week to be able to generate an appointment, generate business. This is how I'm lead generating this week. And then last week, my goal was to blank, and I either did it or I didn't do it. And then this week, my goal is to do this. So we do sort of do that in Dominate Your Week. I know we get off on all kinds of great topics, but that's the main focus. So if you don't have an accountability partner, remember Dominate Your Week is where you're coming and having that kind of conversation as well. All right, number 5, define your standards and systems. So what systems am I working? What is it that who am I and what business am I trying to sell? Am I an agent that wants to work with first-time home buyers? Am I an agent who wants to work with a special group of people designing a plan and a standard to be able to pull them in to work with me? There's a variety. I mean, listen, that doesn't mean you're only going to work with one set group. So like Lily, you can maybe speak to this. I don't know where you landed with your deaf community plan, but she was putting together and maybe you did the seminar there to help deaf people be able to, because she signs, find an agent, meaning her, to be able to help them buy a house. That's a group of people to build a standard and system around. If you don't have systems, I just don't know how you're going to be able to function in real estate. It's not a loosey-goosey thing. Dive into the systems that we have in place for you, and then understanding what those standards are for that. And again, there's more details on here, but you guys will go back later and fill in those blanks. I feel like I'm going super fast, but anybody have any questions so far or thoughts? Anybody on Zoom? All right, number 6, create your unique value proposition. Does anyone know what that is? A unique value proposition? All right, so a unique value proposition is, why should a client choose me over another agent? Kind of like I was just saying. So Lily has a unique value proposition that she can sign. Somebody who can speak another language would also have a unique value proposition just naturally, because then they can reach out to that community. But a unique value proposition would be something to the effect of, I specialize in this thing, right? So whatever that might be for you, to be able to grab the attention of others. Something to do with your values and beliefs. that also could attach people to you. Maybe you are really involved in your church and your unique value proposition is that you're helping other Christians find their dream home, like something to like that effect. Could be a tagline, which would be a unique value proposition. So action items there would be to write one sentence or what you think a value proposition for you could be. So I'll give you an example based on not my real estate business, but my coaching business. My unique value proposition to find people who want to get into real estate is this. I like to find and help people get their real estate license and find success in real estate. That's not exactly it, but so you get the point. So helping people out there in the general public who are interested in real estate be able to get their license and then train and help them find the success that they're looking for. I find success through other success as a coach. So that would be a unique value proposition for coaching. Make sense? So it's a great exercise. I actually teach an entire class on unique value proposition. I have a whole folder on it in the drive. We'll do that again. Again, those are those kind of things that we do throughout the year to help you kind of identify. There's like a 10 question form that's in that folder that kind of breaks down to help you figure out maybe what your unique value proposition would be to help you figure out what your interests are. Number 7, use social media. So as I mentioned, social media is also a database. It is a database. There are some top agents that actually, in addition to, or even not in addition to, solely use their social media for a way to connect with their people and use it as a database. And so that doesn't mean just like posts. I'm sure you guys have noticed, you get in a rhythm of liking and seeing, like I have some friends where I'm like, oh, I didn't know you posted that. No, I didn't know your son was engaged. I never see that person's post because you get in an algorithm of only seeing 25 people, right? So if you want to expand that, you have to kick that out by looking at other people's stuff. And then they will also see yours. But liking just doesn't cut it. You need to like, comment, and even private message them. And then whenever I comment or private message, I always ask a question. Don't just say happy birthday. Say happy birthday. What fun thing are you doing today? It prompts them to respond. You know, when people say things to you on social media, I could have 50 comments on something and just like their comment. But the person who says something just a little bit different and just a little bit extra or asks a question, I feel compelled to hit reply. I'm not replying to all 100, but I might reply to those 2. That's going to kick the algorithm so that they start seeing your stuff too. And then you can communicate with those people. And so again, I teach a class on engaging on social media, and engaging is where it's important. It's not just about going on there occasionally liking and commenting and posting. You must engage with social media. So use your social media to get business. If you're not engaging, also have your friends and family share your posts. You'll notice that anybody who's in coaching, when you guys are doing an open house or I see something, I'll share it. So make sure that you make your post shareable. So it depends how you put it on your page is whether you can share it or not. So I'll tell you a little hint there is if you created the post for your business page and then you shared it to your personal page, it might not be able to be shared. So you watch for that. So, or the reverse of that is true. I do everything myself personally on my personal page. I have a business page, but I haven't used it. The pictures are so old, let's just say. I haven't been there. The reason for that is simply because, first of all, I'm not afraid for people to see my personal page. If you're afraid for people to see your personal page, you need to clean it up. That must be there's something wrong. So I want all the people I'm friends with and follow me to see what everything that I do in one place. Business page, nothing against them, but you can run ads from business page and you can't from a personal page. So there's a benefit to a business page. But in my opinion, I got to find followers for my business page. That means I got to go back through all my friends and ask them to follow. And the only people that see what I post on my business page are the ones who actually follow it. So I choose to just do everything on my personal page where all my people are at. By the way, guys, you get 5,000 friends on Facebook, 5,000. So you should look at how many friends you have. And if it's 200, you got a long road to go. And then you're thinking, how do I gain 5,000 friends? Hijack your friends list. That's how. Go into those friends. And I don't just randomly select. I look at my friends' friends, if they're public. And then if I have 20 mutual friends with them, I friend request them. And by the way, I don't care if someone messages me and says, who are you? Why'd your friend request me? Delete. I'm not taking a minute to explain. If I don't care. I don't care if they accept me. I don't go back and look. And then I don't want to respond to that question. Go ahead.
So you delete, I've done that last time, I don't forget what class it was. We did that, we
Mhm.
talked about that, and I went ahead and I friend requested people
Mhm.
that I was mutually friends with.
Yeah.
And I've gotten some weird messages, hey girl, from men that are kind of like, do I delete them? Or do I keep them?
I mean, unless it's really, I mean, like how, I mean, I guess I don't, everyone has a level of what they think is inappropriate. If it's inappropriate, sure.
It's just like, I haven't seen or talked to you, or I don't even know you.
Well, that's not a problem though. Like I just told you, my last 3 listings, which made me about $20,000, were from people I did not know. 3 of which, all 3 were men.
Okay.
So I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care. I can sell them a house. So just because I mean, people just don't know how to talk. I guess that's the problem. It doesn't mean that they're like weirdo stalkers, but that's for your own self to worry about. But yeah, if someone's saying something strange, like I don't want people popping up in my messenger and saying weird stuff. Like I don't even finish reading it. They're just gone. But if they say haven't seen you for 20 years, I won't say that's inappropriate.
Okay.
You friend requested them.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, he's saying hi. Don't assume everyone, they just don't know how to talk.
Okay.
So, but again, that's for you to have a
Use
gauge.
my own discretion.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Because we are going out there and friend requesting random strangers, like heck, I just bumped into somebody out who I'm friends with on social media. She's always comments on my stuff. I always comment on her stuff. She used to teach a spinning class at the Jackson Y that I used to go to years ago. But I don't really know her. And it was so strange to me that she started charging towards me and gave me a hug and was like, finally, nice to meet you in person. And I was like, that was so weird, but okay, great. You know what I mean? Like that, we're just in that world of everything online that it feels strange when somebody's actually, is that girl, like we all do it. You're in the Target and you're like, I'm friends with that person on social media. Why are we looking the other way? Because we're so afraid to say hi to somebody? Like, I don't get it. But that's potential business. Talk about real estate whenever you can. All right, moving on. Number 8, be learning based and action focused. I love this one for lots of reasons. I know I just see somebody popped up in the chat. Please unmute yourself because I can't go back into the chat now. So dive right in and interrupt me if you have a question or something to add to that. If not, interrupt me. Be learning based. That's why we're here at KW. I don't know about you, but one of the reasons that I've been at Keller Williams now for 10 years, I spent 18 years at other brokerages and never learned the things that I learned when I stepped foot in this place. And it wasn't a learning based environment at the other companies that I was at. I was at 2 other companies at all. And one of the reasons I came to KW was because of all the education they don't have productivity coaches at other brokerages. I guess you don't know what you don't know when you've always just been here, right? I know what I don't know, what you guys don't know, which is other brokerages aren't that way. So take advantage of that, be learning based. But if you're only learning and never acting, that doesn't bring you business. I don't know about you guys, but no one's ever left this training room and suddenly made money. Right? I'm not passing out checks as you leave class, right? Darn it, I know. So if you aren't acting on the things that you've learned, it won't turn into dollar signs for you or a paycheck. So learn all the things. And by the way, there is no point where it ends. We have training here on all levels. I see people on the Zoom right now that I know have been licensed for a while, and they came today to learn about the 19 things they didn't teach in real estate school. So I go to training still. Our owner of our brokerage, who sells lots and lots of thousands of houses, goes to trainings. It doesn't end. Take advantage of everything. There's always more to learn that's going to help you grow in your business now and in the future. But again, the action is the thing. I would say the top two important things for me for real estate is action and consistency. If you go to the gym for 5 hours one time a week, are you going to see the results of somebody who goes 45 minutes every day? Keep that in mind. So it's the same thing with your business. It's action and consistency. I don't know why that keeps jumping over. Yeah. Number 9, track your business early and often. So we talk about this a lot in a lot of different training classes. And I've created an enormous amount of trackers for you all that's in the drive for pipeline, for my daily activities. I have a ton of time blocking classes that also include trackers. Here's the beauty of tracking and why this one is track early and often. Early meaning you're a clean slate right now as a newer person. You're a clean slate. So start tracking now. Yes, at the end of your first year, it might look a little bit different than at the end of your 5th year, but that's okay. You'll see how far you've come. The best example I can give you about tracking is this. And before I dive into that, here's the things you should be tracking. You should be tracking what you're doing. You should be tracking how many people you're calling and who you're calling and have a pipeline report, right? Of who on my pipeline is most willing, or I should say not willing, who is my top so many next clients. So what my pipeline looks like is this: A, B, and C, buyers and seller, buyer or seller. That's 2 columns right there. Here's an A buyer or seller. They would buy or sell in the next 30 days if everything fell into place. So why would a buyer not buy in 30 days? Well, they didn't find a house, right? But if they found a house, they would have bought in 30 days. That's an A buyer. An A seller says, come over. I have a listing appointment tomorrow and they are listing next week. That is an A seller. They're the top of my pipeline right now. My next client is going to be this listing. A B buyer or seller is from 30 to 90 days. So there's something in there they're saying, I'm not quite ready right now. I've got to still get the house ready. Or, we're ready to start looking, but our lease isn't up until November. That could be a B. And a C is 90 days and beyond. Doesn't mean that they aren't useful. That doesn't mean when someone says, I've got someone who's looking to buy next spring, that's great. They're just a C. And my job is to move them up to a B to eventually move them up to an A. And then on that tracker, I say who they are, where they're at in the process, my date of first contact, and my date of last contact. So now when I look at my pipeline report every single day, I don't care if I have 2 people on it. If you think I just don't have enough people to put on a pipeline report, well, you will. You're not going to remember everybody. So that's not your entire database, guys. That's somebody who's interested in doing real estate within those timeframes. That I scan mine every day. Do I need to do something with any of these people to move them up from a C to a B, from a B to A, or get them into a house or get them ready to list? So that's one way of tracking. I also track how many appointments I go on. I track how many conversations I have. I track my expenses. I'm tracking all the things that I'm doing, how many open houses I hold, how many social media posts, like anything that you're doing, you should be tracking it. And here's why. It is a numbers game. It is a numbers game. I love it in a team meeting. I don't know when, a couple years ago, when somebody who was in their 2nd year of business sold a decent amount of houses in his first year, but he stood up and he was talking on a panel and he said, which really stuck with me, is that he sold, let's say, 12 houses his first year, and that his goal was to sell twice as many his 2nd year. And that the way he was going to do it was to go back into all of his trackers and times it by 2. It's a numbers game. It's a simple equation. If I held 1 open house a week and that resulted in me having blank number of sales, and I want to have twice as many from that, then I have to do twice as many open houses. If I make 5 calls a day and that resulted in me to getting this many appointments, and now I want to double that, then I have to have 10 calls a day. And eventually, when you have a database, when you're thinking, who in the hell am I going to call? If I'm calling 5 people a day, 5 days a week, I'm going to eventually run out. You're not. You're not. Because you're calling people 4 times a year for starters, if you have a right plan going, and then you're meeting people at open house, and you're meeting people from like online leads, and there's people to follow up with, and there's always more people to add to your database. So track early, track everything. So this way, when you get done with your first year, it's very easy to be able to say, this is what I'm going to do next year and how I'm going to be able to do it. Number 10, treat your business like a business. It is a business, guys. This is not a job. It's not a career. It is a business. You are a business owner. You didn't get into real estate to work for someone. It's one of the reasons that people get into real estate, because you want to be your own boss. I think a big problem for all of us, including myself, is we're not always a very good boss of ourselves. But if you start thinking about your business like a business, or even this, I find it interesting that agents will work harder working for someone who's paying them hourly than to work hard for their own business that will make them way more money than some hourly job for somebody else. And think about that too, how you're using your time. And then that's how you're running your business. And if you're not finding success, either you're not doing your lead generating enough, or if you're doing all the things and you're still not finding success, maybe it's a conversion problem, which could trickle down to a scripting problem. It's something as simple as that. You're meeting with me regularly and we're doing one-on-ones and we're talking about the results because you've been tracking everything. We can get to the bottom of it. Someone said I had 50 open houses and I still have not gotten anybody to actually work with me. It's not a consistency problem. It's a scripting or a conversion problem. And so then we need to dive into how to fix that. So start, treating your business like a business. That goes back to how many hours am I working? I love the example. We talked about this in a class a while ago, and Brittany in coaching does this, and I love that she does it. She's got a mason jar, and she puts a quarter in that mason jar for every hour she works this week. And then she can see I want to work 40 hours. So now I've got 40 quarters in this jar, and they need to find their way to the other jar so that I actually know that I filled up this jar and worked my 40 hours. I mean, however you want to do it. But that's a visual for her that helps her know I'm failing at this because now my jar of 40 hours didn't get spent this week, or maybe only a portion of it did. Also, if you don't do it, I don't know about you, probably most of you have worked another job someplace, sometime. If you don't do your job, you don't make a paycheck, right? So again, same thing goes with real estate. So treat it like a business. Somebody behind you saying, do your job is you. So you have to make sure that you're the one who's on top of that. Or, again, come to class, have a coach, and have an accountability partner, perhaps. Number 11, associate with like-minded people. So come into the office. I mean, it's so strange that we have over 300 agents in this office, but we never at any time see that many agents. Maybe at the Christmas party, we see a lot of people. But come into the office, be around other agents, go to coffee with other agents, talk to people. You guys are in a nice, unique situation. I feel like in coaching, we've got the best of both worlds. You're an independent agent. You can run your business like a business, however you see fit, and maximize on the larger portion of a commission and still be like we're this giant team of 60 some people. Somewhere we fluctuate between 60 and 80 agents in the coaching program. And you've got all these people. We have the Viber chat that you're talking to them. Be around them, see what they're doing. I can see when I go through the Viber chat, when I can go through each person and it says hasn't logged on in a long time. It actually says those words, hasn't logged on in a long time. Which blows my mind. And if you don't log into the chat, it will stop notifying you that people are talking and asking questions and information is going in the chat. So look at it and utilize those resources that you have. Like-minded people are going to help you stay in the frame of mind and understanding what they're doing, and having those conversations with each other can be really helpful. I love, through the many years that I've been coaching, I always can recall different groups of people who started around the same time who really have leaned in on each other, and they're such different people, different ages, different lifestyles, and they're still friends today because they started out in coaching together. So lean into that. Number 12, master your listing presentation. So, this one is so relevant right now. I have probably helped 6 of you. It is only Wednesday with preparing for your first listing appointments this week. So that's fantastic. That means a good amount of you newer people are going on your first listing appointments. If you haven't, you get one chance to make a first impression, even when it's someone that you know. Even when it's someone that you know. So you have to go in there and know what you're talking about. Don't text me 10 minutes before you're going on your first listing appointment and say, which happens, I'm going on my first listing appointment. Okay. Yeah, we've got 30 seconds. What question do you have? Because I should, so just know this, I need to be scheduled like an appointment. Hey, Gina, I've got my first listing appointment coming up. Don't do this. When someone says, hey, Carly, oh my gosh, you sell real estate. My grandma wants to sell her house. Can you come over like tonight at 6? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We will show a house at a drop of a hat. A buyer appointment's way different to prepare for than a listing appointment. No offense to those buyers agents out there, but it's way different to list a house than to work with a buyer. With a buyer, they can say, hey, Carly, I'm using you because you're in front of me. Oh my gosh, you sell real estate. And we've been looking on Zillow and we found this house that we absolutely love. Can you show that to us tonight? Absolutely, I can. And then you go down the process. You call me. I tell you what you need to get signed and what you need to do to schedule the appointment. You go show them the house and then we're there. For a listing, I don't schedule for tonight. And I've been doing this for 28 years and I primarily work with sellers. I had a past client call me on Monday morning and say that he wants to sell one of his rental properties. And I said, how's Thursday? Because I need time to prepare for that appointment. And could I have done it on Monday and went like on Tuesday? Sure. But I need time to prepare for that appointment. And so mastering your listing presentation is so important. And lucky for you, I teach a class called Win the Listing. It's an hour-long class. I have a step-by-step detail and it's in the Google Drive. It's also, for those of you who are not in coaching, a lot of the recorded classes find their way to legacygroupguide.com in the trainings tab. So I know for sure that one's also in there. I talk about what I call 5 phases of the listing appointment, starting with your listing appointment phone conversation to help you get ready for your listing appointment. I can't help you prepare a CMA or get ready for your appointment if you haven't asked the client some questions. It's not just about, and this happened recently, well, it has 3 bedrooms and 2 baths and it's 1,500 square feet and it's on a 1/4 of an acre and it's a bungalow. And it's in blank city. That is not enough information. Do you know how different a house could be based on condition from one to the other? There could be $100,000 price gap there because of condition of the house based on the location. We need to know some other things about the house and to help me prepare for that listing appointment, or for me to help you prepare for that listing appointment. And then having a marketing packet to bring with you to show them what you're going to do to market the house. By the way, it doesn't have to be anything spectacular. It just needs to be something. Really, a marketing packet, in my opinion, is just a prop to remember what to talk about that you're going to do for them. You're not there on that appointment, by the way, either with a buyer or a seller, to say, I do, me, I'm this great. My packet shows you all the fantastic things I've done. By the way, my listing packet does not say how long I've been in the business, and it doesn't say how many houses I've sold. They don't care. They want to know, what are you going to do for me to get my house sold or help me buy a house? So mine is all around, here's what the process looks like, and here's what I'm going to do for you. That's what they want. They want you to come from a place of service. Sure. They might want to know that you have some experience and know what you're doing, but they're going to feel that when you start talking. So you are prepared for the appointment. All right. Number 13 is master scripts and objection handling. This is so important. I know that people hate scripting, and I'll be honest, I did too. Probably about 15 years ago at the company that I was at, we as a group used to record our conversations. Okay, so there's an app you can have on your phone where you record your conversation. By the way, we're a one permission state. That means I can't record a conversation between you two. That's illegal. But I can record a conversation between you and I and not tell you. Because we're a one permission state. That's weird. I'm not doing that anymore, thank God. But the reason we used to record conversations was this, because then on Monday morning, we would come in, there was like 10 or 12 of us, and we would listen to those recordings as a group. Let me tell you how painful it is to listen to yourself on recordings and then listen to other people critique it. Painful, however, so enlightening and life-changing. I didn't know how many I'm a chatty Cathy, but there's long pauses sometimes. That's weird. Why is there even a 5-second pause when I should be speaking? Now, it's one thing when you ask a question and you're waiting for them to talk, there's some value in that. That's different. Also saying, or other weird things that people say when they're thinking. And I just did it. Yeah, and yeah, exactly. That's when you should pause. Don't say, If you need to think for a second, which is why we say, just pause. You sound much more professional and like you know what you're talking about than saying, Now, this doesn't mean the other person's picking up on it. It's only when you listen to it back that you realize, oh my gosh, 72 times in a 5-minute conversation, I said, you know. So we did that. But in any case, that will definitely get your butt in gear to master scripts. I realized back then that I would get a call on a house that was for sale on a for sale sign, and I would just answer their questions and say, would you like to see the house? And never asked their name. Never said, can I send you something else when they said that price is too high, thank you, and hung up. So like that really changed. And that's when I learned the LP Mama script, which again was so life-changing because it changed my business 100% to know the scripts and what questions to be asking people to get them to continue to talk to me and to potentially work with me. Handling objections is also super important, either before you work with somebody or during a transaction. We probably have so many, you're going to have probably more objections during the transaction than you do beforehand. One objection maybe at a listing appointment is, what's your commission? That could be an objection handler that you have to answer. My way of doing it is I dive into all the hard questions before they ask them. I know that this seller is going to ask me about it. So I just dive right in and I say, and by the way, because of all the great things that I do and all my experience and all this stuff, blah, 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 my commission for listing side of it is 3%. And it is not negotiable, but I know you weren't going to ask. Like things like that help me have someone kind of be like, well, I was going to ask, but now I'm not, you know? So there's different things like that help you kind of handle those objections. Also when you're having a tough time in a transaction, call me. I'm going to tell you what to say. I'm that little birdie in your ear that says, say this. So don't ever hesitate to do so. A lot of you do that, but some of you don't. So please feel free because we hold transactions together just as much as we sell houses. You're not home free because you sold a house. So many reasons deals fall through. Number 14, know your local market better than anyone. I think I said this on Monday. It's so interesting to me when somebody says, where they see you out and about or whatever, or maybe it's a holiday and a family member says this to you. Oh my gosh, that yellow house over there on the corner of, what's the name of that street again? You know the one, in North Canton. That's that yellow house. What's the price of that? And you're like, don't know. How could I possibly know all this stuff? Right? So sure, there's always those moments where we don't know, but know the market. You don't have to know every house for sale. But I will tell you this, an agent that I used to work with, Kevin McCauley, on Jose's team as a listing partner, he is somebody that if you ever walk into his office, he's sitting at his desk, usually with his feet up on his desk, with his computer in his lap, and he is researching every listing in the area that he's interested in knowing about. and he knows what the listings are. He knows what the prices are. He knows how many bedrooms and baths. He knows everything. I've never met an agent that knows more about every listing that's active on the market. So know your market, but at least know the kind of market we're in. Know that we are currently still in a seller's market. We are not in a buyer's market. We are in a shifting market, but we don't know how long that's going to take. There is some matter of opinion about things like that. However, how do we know we're in a seller's market? Well, we list a house and it sells in less than a week. That's how. We have less inventory than we do buyers. We're in a buyer's market when we have way more inventory and less buyers, right? So it's not necessarily having to do with the price. It's more having to do with inventory. We have an inventory problem here because there's so few houses active on the market for how many buyers that we have. So that's why things are selling so fast. It's not necessarily just because of price. I mean, we are in a good market because of price too, don't get me wrong. But for the most part, it's inventory. So keep that in mind and understand how that market is going to work. Number 15, set goals and create a plan. Again, we have the GPS for a reason. We also have other things called your daily 411 that you can be using. There's a ton of things. Like you cannot say there's not an abundance of resources. Matter of fact, there's so many resources that it could get overwhelming here at KW. So utilize those things. They help you set your goals. So I think we should have one main goal for the year. So how many houses I'd like to sell this year. And I would also say, you can, as a new person, say in my first year, I'd like to sell blank, but then go backwards and say, the rest of this calendar year, I want to sell this many houses. We pay taxes by the calendar year, not by how long you've been in real estate, right? So between now and the end of year, I'd like to close this many houses. And then work your way backwards from that to be able to say, okay, to make that happen, I need to schedule this many appointments. And to be able to schedule this many appointments, I need to do this many activities, whether that is making calls, holding open houses, social media posts, outreach for expired listings for sale by owners, and all the different sources of business. So if you set a goal and you create a plan, when you're sitting there on a Tuesday morning and you have the day available to yourself and you don't know what to do, it's because you're not looking back at those goals and that plan that you put together for yourself. We do this as a group. We do GPS at the end of the year as a group for all of next year. I would say it's also a good idea, and we'll probably run this again in coaching soon, where we do goals by a 90-day cycle. And so what are we going to do in the next 90 days? So we just did in spring till June, about maybe 12, 15 of our agents in coaching did something called Agent Project Challenge, where they came with a 90-day plan to our first meeting. They had to meet once a week as a group, one time a week with me and Jake from the locker room, and then one time a week with just each other, heavily accountable to what their activities were that they were working on. I forget the numbers, but it was crazy by the end of the 90 days, how many appointments. I think they had like 500 appointments between them in the 90 days. And 25 like a lot of closings during the time, because it was very focused and very set on a game plan and a goal. We are going to do it again here in the fall. And the thing I ask for those of you going to be doing it is you have to show up. It's one hour class a week, or not a class, meeting that you have to show up for, and you have to do the work. There's also, of course, a tracker that you're required to do. I think we started with 15 and we ended up with maybe 9 people because we lost 6 because they stopped coming. So if you don't want to do it, don't sign up for it. You must show up. So I will be rolling that out again here in the fall. All right. Be a time blocking ninja. So I time block everything. When I need to give my dog her flea and tick meds is on my calendar. Take the trash out is on my calendar. I mean, everything I do in my life is on my calendar. I use a Google Calendar. People use a variety of different calendars, and that's fine. I really just am someone who says, I don't know how you manage in your day without a calendar. The only way that I imagine that you do that is you're not doing certain set things all the time. Like, how can you tell someone that you can come on an appointment on this day and time if you don't have a calendar that says you might have something else going on. So again, we teach a ton of time blocking classes. I've got a ton of resources in the drive for time blocking, but I start with this. I start with my personal life. My personal life is not unimportant. My personal life is a priority. The reason I'm able to juggle all the millions of things that I do is because I time block. That is why. I do more things between the time I get up and 9 o'clock in the morning that most people do in a whole day. Just because I'm also a morning person. My family hates it, but I'm a morning person. So there's that. But I do a million things before I get in the car and come here in the morning for sure. But that's when I choose to do my stuff. Some people like to do things later in the day, and that's okay too. I'm really bored around 3 o'clock. I don't know why. I guess I'm tapped out. I've done everything I can do. And then I'm like, I guess because I used to be getting kids off of the bus or taking kids to sports, and now they're all grown. So I'm like, what do I do at 3 p.m? So if anyone needs an appointment, that's a fantastic time for me that I'm bored, and I hate being bored. In any case, personal life goes on there first. Family outings, dinners, whatever it is. And by the way, guys, everything is an appointment. If a client calls you and they want to do something and you have one of your children's games that night, you don't say my son has a baseball game. They don't care about your personal life, your customers. They want to think all you do is real estate, day and night, weekend, all the time, whatever. So it's, oh my gosh, I have another appointment at that time. How does this time work? It's always an appointment. When my daughter was having her baby, when my granddaughter was being born, I told a client that my daughter was about to deliver, and damn it, if that wasn't the day he wanted to write an offer on a house, and he didn't care. I'm going to the hospital right now to watch my granddaughter be born. I can't write an offer, but so-and-so can fill in for me. And he wasn't having it. Yeah. And so would my head have been in the game either if I had gone and done the offer? No. If you're out on a Saturday night and you're having a couple drinks at dinner and someone says, I want to write an offer, are you really in the right headspace at 11 o'clock at night to be writing an offer or calling me to help you write an offer? The answer is no. The answer is no. So time blocking is going to help that. And it's always, I have an appointment. Also, if you don't want your clients to call you at 10 o'clock at night, stop answering the phone. You teach them what your limitations are. Now, do I think that you should cut off at 6 o'clock? No. Do I think you should cut off at 8 o'clock? I don't. Because we do real estate all different hours a day. And if you're someone who's dual career and you work 9 to 5 and the only time you can actually talk to these people is at 8 p.m., then you should be on the phone at 8 p.m. I am. But that doesn't mean at 10 p.m. Okay? So keep that in mind. Time blocking is super important. And I promise it's freeing when you time block. They will go when you say. It doesn't have to be right now. How does Tuesday work? Or give them a couple of alternate times. Number 17, live in abundance, not scarcity. So again, I look at everything as an opportunity to succeed. When someone asks me, do you think I need 2 cell phones? And I'm always like, well, what do you mean by that? Well, because I have a work phone. I still say, what do you mean by that? Why would you need a separate work phone? Just out of curiosity. People say, well, so that I can have my work phone with me when I want to work. Maybe this isn't the right business for you if you think that you leave a cell phone at home when you go do something. We are in the real estate business, which is, again, all the time. You get to decide if you answer or not, but we want that information to be public. Someone also said, I don't know that I want the general public knowing my phone number. Okay, don't be a secret agent. I look at those as opportunities. We went to Maui a few years ago and we landed and I got to my condo and the first thing, it just came up on my memories. The first thing I did was went on my patio overlooking a cliff in the beautiful blue Pacific Ocean and wrote an offer. And I did not look at that as an intrusion on my vacation. I made a decision that I was able to do it because I had my computer with me. I brought it for that reason. I sat there and I took a photo of my computer screen overlooking the beautiful ocean while selling a house and making $4,000 while I was all the way in Maui. That's an opportunity. I would not have passed that up. That's your decision to make. Now, would I do that when I'm in Disney? Probably not. It's a little bit hard to be on a roller coaster while you're writing offers, right? So then you get to decide. So I look at those things as why I'm there is because my job funds that. So you need to look at things just a little bit differently. Number 19, create a vision for your business. So we have some really exciting exercises that we do, in particular at the end or the beginning of the year. And one of them is to find out what your big why is. Has anybody ever done the big why exercise? Anybody on Zoom? It's a fun one. We'll do that again soon. So you're figuring out why. So like, why am I doing this? And reminding yourself all the time what that why is. Some people's why is because I want to quit my other job. Some people's why is because I want to put my kids through college. Like some people's why is because I want to pay for vacations to Maui, whatever that is. Or I just want to be able to pay my bills. Like legitimately, my why is I just got to be able to pay my bills. But it goes a little bit deeper than that. And for anyone who took bold, they tend to do this. I say tend because not every bold instructor does it. And I love this exercise, and we do this as well. Putting together a short vision statement for yourself is an ideal way of practicing your business and remembering that why. In a bold a few years ago, which I thought was such a crazy, fantastic idea. And I later also read it in a book that I was reading. Jake, our locker room coach, is an author as well. And his book Cannonball, it was in there. And I called him and I said, Jake, I just read the part about your big why. And I know it was because you took a bold sometime, because he used to be a KW productivity coach. Anyway, here's what it was. You write 2 letters to your family, or if you're single, to yourself. The one letter inside says, I am so sorry that I wasn't able to provide these things to our life. I'm sorry to myself I wasn't able to quit my other job. And then the other letter says, I am so excited that we've been able to live the life that I promised when getting into real estate we were going to be able to live. That I was going to be able to take us on these vacations or buy these things or just pay our bills or quit my other job or whatever that is. And then those letters are, I mean, I think this is probably not true, but like a subliminally posted on your refrigerator, and you decide today which letter are you going to open and look at. Which one do you want your family to see? The one that says, I'm so sorry I didn't do the things that I wanted to do when I got my real estate license, so we aren't going to live that life, or the one that says, I'm so excited that I've been able to do this for us. So keep that in mind. And then you write yourself at bold a letter that they send you in a year, because then we break it down to then how do I want my life to look in 1 year and then 5 years. And I can tell you from doing that exercise, I built my dream home last year. Like that was on my 5-year plan, and I did it in 3. And so, I truly believe it was from that exercise.
It's so cool.
And Jake, who's also my coach in the locker room, I called him and said, I got to thank you. Many of the motivational things that you have said to me has helped me change the way I think and pursue. And I just bought a lot and I'm building a house. That wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been at KW and I hadn't learned those things. So that is super important to have that vision for your business. And 19, know your big why. I get ahead of myself, right? So knowing your big why, and it's not just about money. I was in a training that Jose was doing for one of our regional things several years ago, and he was asking this question, and someone stood up and said, I want to buy a boat. So that's okay. That could be a goal, but that's not your big why. It can't be just that. It needs to be, again, something way more deep and personal, because I want to change my life in some way. I want my life to look different. So doing that exercise is super important. All right, guys, I'm going to stop share. So this way we went over just 1 minute, but who has questions, thoughts, anything to share here or on Zoom? And if not, that's okay, but I just want to always give a moment for everyone. If not, did someone unmute? Go ahead,
I did.
Holly.
You know, I'm an older agent. I've done it for a while, but I chose the coaching just because, Gina, you're amazing. She is available. She has coached me through one of the toughest sales I had. But a couple things, you know, you call Gina, reach out, give her time to answer you. She's there for you. But number 2, I learned this a long time ago at another agency. Don't be a Pop-Tart. And that is so important because your clients are going to wait for you because they've learned to trust you. They have something, you're giving something a vibe or something that they trust you. So don't be a Pop-Tart, and definitely don't put your family in second place. If somebody is giving birth, that is more important because my
That's true.
children remind me often, because I would put them in the back seat and I'd be like, Mommy has got a call. You cannot talk. Do not breathe. Don't say anything because it's a real estate call. They remind me that they're 30 years old, 29 and 30, and they remind me, Mom, remember when we used to have to sit in silence? So family's very important.
Yes.
And number three, talking to other agents. Keller Williams is awesome just for the fact that there is so much great training coming from 2008, relicensing in 2020. I have learned so much just in my short 2 months at Keller Williams. So definitely take as much training as you can.
Awesome. And I did not pay her to say that, so thank you.
No, she did not pay me.
That's awesome. Thank you, Holly. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining. Please dive back into that workbook and fill in some blanks and ask any questions that you want. Thanks, guys.